discuss menopause and dementia. An article on that by Mr. Hornberger and team from Norwich, and this was published in the British Menopause Society Journal Post-Reparative Health in December 2019. Dementia and menopause and the role of HRT is fraught with controversies at the moment, and as the author states, is mainly because of paucity of good quality studies looking into this aspect. The World Health Organization, in its 2015 report, states that 47.5 million people worldwide are affected by dementia, and about 7.7 million are added every year to this count. Obviously, age is the most important factor, but there are other lifestyle, genetics, medicines, and other factors that comes into play as well. It is also known that even though the symptoms of dementia can be seen in 70s and 80s, but the main pathophysiology starts almost 20 years earlier. It is also known that women just after menopause are affected more with dementia as opposed to men, even though this gradually peters out by 70 years of age when the risk is more or less similar. This, we know, perimenopausal and immediate postmenopausal women often complain of what's commonly called as brain fog. This is mainly due to a difficulty with attention, lack of focus, memory loss, and forgetfulness. In fact, in a nationwide study of more than 16,000 women, it was seen that almost 31% of perimenopausal women between about 40 to 55 years of age and 41% of early postmenopausal women actually stated forgetfulness as one of the main symptoms. This does not come as a surprise if we consider that estrogen is important in the metabolism of glucose in the brain, and glucose metabolism is important for cognition. Similarly, estrogen is also involved in the metabolism of acetylcholine, and acetylcholine is an important neurotransmitter again associated with attention and memory. Estrogen also has a role in neurogenesis and brain homeostasis. The role of HRT, however, is more controversial, and it could be because most of the studies, and particularly the population-based studies, mostly looked at cognition, if at all, as a secondary outcome and not as a primary outcome. And very few, if any, of the studies actually looked at other aspects like the role of drugs and genetics in this. However, there seems to be what's called a critical window hypothesis, which states that in the perimenopausal and the early postmenopausal period, in less than 60 years of age, HRT may have a beneficial effect on cognition and memory, but if started late after 65 years of age, it may actually have a negative and a deleterious and a harmful effect on cognition and dementia. This controversy, as stated by the authors, is mostly because of lack of good studies looking into this. A meta-analysis of more than 50,000 women across various studies clearly states this critical window hypothesis or comes to a conclusion about it. Alzheimer's disease is the commonest form of dementia worldwide and accounts for almost 2/3 of all the cases of dementia. In Alzheimer's disease, beta amyloid plaques and neurofibrillary tau tangles, two neurotoxic proteins and insoluble proteins gets deposited across the brain. The beta amyloid plaques are found scattered throughout the brain, but the neurofibrillary tau tangles initially start in the medial temporal lobe of the brain, particularly in the entorhinal cortex and the hippocampus, and then spreads to the rest of the cortical areas. It is interesting to know that in oophorectomized rats, estrogen actually increases the synapses of the dendrites in the hippocampus. Estrogen, it's also seen, may prevent the deposition of beta amyloid plaques in animal studies. Estrogen is well known to increase to have an effect, a positive effect possibly on the vascularity of the brain and the glucose metabolism. And as we know in Alzheimer's, there are other factors including genetics, neuroinflammation, and vascular changes that has an effect. Generally speaking, however, as things stands today, as we have stated before and the authors have stated, that estrogen and HRT started in the perimenopausal or immediate postmenopausal period, definitely less than 60 years of age, may have a beneficial effect on cognition, but started late after 65 years of age may actually be more harmful. However, more studies are needed to confirm or refute these findings. Lastly, coming to genetics, an autosomal recessive gene, apolipoprotein epsilon 4, is implicated in Alzheimer's disease. Women and men who are homozygous to this are 12 times, have a 12-fold increased risk of Alzheimer's disease, and who are heterozygous have a 4-fold increased risk. It is also interesting to know that estrogen is involved in some ways in the mechanism of this gene. Conclusion is that it seems that in oophorectomized women before natural menopause or in perimenopausal and early postmenopausal period, definitely less than 60 years of age, HRT may have a beneficial effect, but later on, after 65 years of age, HRT possibly is more harmful. We do need more studies in this field before we can come to any definitive conclusion according to the authors. Thank you.